Welcome back to the Messiah Show, everyone. Before we get started, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. If you are listening from Spotify, please be sure to drop a 5-star rating and drop a comment. That is the best way of giving back to us and helping us share our content. Anyways, last week I did promise that we're going to have a guest on today's episode. Unfortunately, due to logistic issues, that's been postponed to next week. I do advise you to tune in next week. It's going to be really interesting. So anyways, I thought I'd kind of like share my heart on an issue, and I hope it is helpful to somebody, and I believe it will be, right? So a couple of months ago, I participated in a Venture Crush event in New York City, right? So Venture Crush is an event for startups. It's like a startup community kind of thing, and it's organized by venture capitalists and funders in the industry, right? And obviously, it attracts the community of very talented startup founders, and I had the opportunity to network with amazing people in the event. And it was really funny that last event, I believe, was on the 6th or 7th of November last year. That was like a day or two after the elections, and the panel was quite diverse because obviously you had like white males on the panel, and you had a venture capitalist who is a female of color, and she seemed kind of disappointed with the outcome of the elections. Anyway, I digress. And one thing that she said that really got my attention was, she was kind of like describing the attributes that, a particular investor looks at when they look at a startup that they want to invest in. And one of them that really stuck out for me was they want to invest in a startup founder that really understands the problem that they're solving really well. And, that thing made me really reflect. And I'm like, I was in the phase of like building an MVP that I want to validate in the market. And as we speak, on the 1st of Feb, that's when I plan on testing it with a bunch of users so that we can iterate and eventually launch the first version in the market. It kind of made me reflect on the mistake that I made, and I believe a lot of people have made, and I kind of see people tending to make again and again and again, right? Which is trying to solve or like throwing a solution at the market without understanding the problem, right? Right now I'm reading, I won't say I'm reading 2 books. I read 2 books by the same author back to back. His name is Gary Shapiro. He is the CEO of Consumer Technology Association, and last week I did do an episode about called Pivot or Die, which is kind of centered around a theme of a book that he wrote. And he also talks about how, companies don't innovate for the sake of innovating. They create innovations because it's a better way of solving a problem. Because if you're not solving a problem, you're not likely to sell. You're not meeting a need or a want that exists in the market. And one mistake that I have made in the past was, hiring a dev shop, right? Dev shop are one of those like businesses where you have like developers. I'm kind of like speaking in layman's terms as a non-tech guy. You have these developers that you hire to code certain things. And the downside of having people like that is those people are motivated to get paid by the hour. So they execute on whatever scope of work you give them to do, right? And they not really focus on the customer. They're not really focused on solving the problem. And for you to be a successful founder, you need people in your team that are committed to really solving that problem, right? That have, the client at the center of it. So anyways, before we get into that, or before we break that down even further, I'm going to play a clip of the founder of WeWork, right? Where he talks about solving a problem that's worth solving. So let's listen to this clip, then we're going to get back and break it down a bit.
Let's talk a little bit about what you saw originally in the co-working model that so intrigued you to now build what is arguably the fastest growing company of its kind in the world. First, what did you see initially at the earliest stages of WeWork that maybe weren't apparent to other competitors out there that you felt you could really fill that void in your own way?
So the true story behind this is that we never saw other co-working spaces. I owned a baby clothing company. I was in Dumbo. And there was an empty building, and I would talk to the landlord about different things that we could do to make that building better. And when we actually got to talking about it, I said, this is my 3rd business. It's a very difficult thing to start a new business. And if we could create an environment where entrepreneurs and small businesses could come in, have a space, share services, and maybe help each other to be more successful, that would be a great product. That was in May of 2008. The world was crashing. We opened right with the downturn, and business never stopped since.
What did you see as the differentiator? At the end of the day, like you said, you didn't end up starting by looking at other co-working spaces, but obviously as you've matured in your own company, you've seen other companies that have either popped up or have been around. What makes WeWork different, in your opinion?
So the first business that we started in May of '08 was actually called Green Desk. It was founded by me and Miguel McKelvey, who is also my co-founder in WeWork. And Green Desk was a green shared office space. It was beautifully designed. It had some shared services, but that's all it was. Within a few weeks after tenants, which we used to call them tenants today we only have members, when tenants started coming in, we felt that this space is a lot more than just a shared office space. This is a community. And very quickly we realized that Green Desk wasn't the right thing, and there's a bigger brand, a bigger business that's really about bringing people together and making them more successful by leveraging community. And that's what then a year later became WeWork. WeWork was actually founded in 2010. And it was founded based on community, on making our members more successful, and doing everything we can to create an experience that helps these small businesses really thrive and succeed.
When you look at your sort of history of where you started and where you are now, what is some of the advice you would offer other entrepreneurs when it comes to really crafting that initial idea? Again, and to your point, you didn't look at competition, you didn't look at the industry landscape, you just went out there, found a problem, and solved it. Is that kind of the framing of the advice you'd give?
First advice I would give is you gotta do what you love. So the thing we tell our members is if you're not doing what you love and if there isn't intention behind what you're doing, you're not going to be passionate, you're not going to be able to sell it, you're not going to be able to wake up every morning very early, go to sleep very late, and really dedicate your life to it. So first thing, choose something that you love. Second thing, don't be chasing the exit. If you're doing this just to make money, you're probably not in the right entrepreneurial business. Go get a job with corporate America. Build something that you love, build something with intention, and the money will follow. That would be the second thing. Third thing, you can't give up. No matter what, you can't give up. And last but not least, it also takes a lot of luck and being in the right place in the right time. It took me 5 businesses to get to WeWork. Doesn't always work the first time. You got to be able to fail, learn why you failed, do better for it, and then start again.
So you saw the clip from Adam, who is the founder of WeWork, who happens to be from Israel. I'm sure you picked that up from the accent, right? In this video, he did share a number of gems. And one of the gems was around solving the problem, right? So from his answer, you can kind of figure that he noticed that there was a problem and there was a need among startup founders, right? Startup founders don't have very generous or large budgets like large corporations do. So he came with a very innovative business model where there's almost like an office sharing kind of arrangement that makes it affordable for multiple startup founders, right? I've been in the WeWork building myself in Brooklyn, New York. And I have noticed that it's got this vibe to it. Like, I actually went there because a church that I visited once was using one of the spaces for the services. One of the large boardrooms was used for a church service, and the office spaces was used by the pastor for administrative purposes. And when I was there, I didn't feel like leaving the building. You know, when you walk inside the building, it's got a really nice vibe with like cool music and, the common lounge. You can actually buy snacks. It's got like a ping pong table. It's got a bunch of like leisure. I mean, if you work in a building like that, you're not going to want to leave. You're going to get in there 8 a.m. You're going to do your work. You're going to fellowship. You got drawing boards where you can brainstorm ideas with your team. You even have spaces where people can actually work quietly, separately. And, it's just got this awesome vibe to it. You're not going to want to leave. There's so much to do, so much entertainment. I mean, if you want to eat, you're going to want to eat in that building. If you want to have fun during lunchtime, you can play ping pong. Kind of reminds me of high school. And it's a really fun vibe for startup founders. So you can really see that this person understood the need. He understood how the market thinks. He understood how startup founders think. The second aspect that kind of stuck out for me was, starting WeWork was about building community for him and creating a community and creating an environment that enabled them to succeed. And that really touches the heart of startups, right? So that is like tied in with understanding the need and understanding the problem very well. And number 2, this is also aligned with our why, right? There is a book by Simon Sinek called Start With Why, right? And the why behind what you do needs to be something way deeper than money, and he even alludes to that, right? So all this makes me reflect that, sometimes we want to start businesses to make money. Obviously, that is the ultimate goal, but it mustn't be your why, because if your why is taken off the main purpose and taken away from the very need and the problem you're trying to solve, and the fact that you're trying to make life better for this niche that you want to serve, that might cause you to make certain decisions that are money motivated and are not motivated by trying to serve the need that you want. And users and customers pick that up, and it feels very transactional to them, and that can even hurt your business. In the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek, he even gave the example of Apple. He gave the example of, let's say, Starbucks. They have something in common. So the founding CEOs started the businesses with a why. In the case of Apple, the why of Steve Jobs was around trying to kind of like challenge the status quo in technology. So we've seen over time, when it came to computer technology, when it came to mobile phones, when it came to the music industry, with how music is purchased, they've really challenged the status quo of that, and it's been really consistent during the time when Steve Jobs was alive. One can argue that things have changed a bit, but Tim Cook has done a brilliant job since his death about 14 years ago. And the same thing applies to Starbucks. The founder had a why behind it. At some point, the founder kind of like stepped away from managing the business, and people kind of felt like it lost its identity, and it translated to the numbers kind of suffering. So one key takeaway is, when you're building a startup team, it's really important to look at these aspects when you bring people on board, especially in the very early phases when the business doesn't have a lot of resources, right? You want people in your team that are really committed to the vision and mission that you have on the table, and not people who are there just for a transaction, because it can really cause frustration. In my personal case, I've dealt with dev shops with someone that was purely money motivated, but I felt wasn't committed to the vision, wasn't committed to the mission. As a result, whenever a client asked for a tweak, there was almost like World War III to make that adjustment. It was always a big fight, because this person was not motivated by serving clients' needs. The person was motivated by money. So the more you paid them and the less work you gave them, the more convenient it was. You don't want people like that, not even as subcontractors, not even as people in your startup team. Obviously, as the business gets bigger, you want to keep people in your executive team or your startup team that are committed to the vision. But obviously, the employee is going to be less committed to the vision per se, even though they're competent and good at delivering their job. So anyways, I thought I'd just share that short gem. I'm really excited about the next episode next week. So around this time, please do stay tuned and watch the space for the next episode. So anyways, thank you so much for joining today's episode, and God bless you.